Give me their number. And members, some are sitting here today, will get a call from Jimmy Carter. Why? Because reading the book, JC had an encounter with JC. And JC became everything like his God, everything like his Savior. We're here today because of the book. We're here today because what the book did for Jimmy Carter. We're here today, all of us, black, white, brown, others, all around the world. I remember when he told me, Tony, I need you to get the black churches and the white churches in playing the worship together. Well, President Carter, I'm trying. I can tell him today that he was able to get blacks, white, browns, and others all around the world to sing Amazing Grace. Let there be peace on earth. I can tell him today, in this book, Why Not Your Best, Admiral Rickover asked him 2 questions. One of the questions were, what rank did you graduate in? And he asked him another question. He said, why not? Did you give your best? Today, I can tell the Admiral that JC gave his best to the world, even in his latter days. Today, I can tell the Admiral that JC gave his best all the way to his dying moments. Today, I can tell the Admiral that I saw Siemens at every Air Force base we went to with the wind blowing and a seaman holding a flag, and the flag is fully extended, and he's holding the presidential flag and it's flapping like crazy. He's wearing about $150, and every now and then that flag would lift him up and he would anchor it back down. He would lift him up and he would anchor it back down. He was freezing, he was cold, but he gave us his best. And then when we get to D.C., there was another seaman holding the flag. Wind was blowing, it was cold. And he was holding this cover falls off. He's holding it, and he's holding the presidential flag, and he's giving his best. I know we had a lot of ceremonies, and I know we walked down to the Capitol. I know we did all the things, but I would imagine the day that President Carter would have stopped and walked over to those seamen and said, thank you for giving me your best. I imagined the last Sunday when God opened up the doors and said, Jimmy, come on home, that there was an angel in the back ringing the bell 39 times. I imagine that those who've been on a detail planning his demise start running because they went before he did. I imagine that some of his friends that helped build the Carter Center come running to the gate because the angel was ringing the bell 39 times. I imagine that his mom got up and said, I hear the bell, I hear the bell. I imagine his bride start pushing her way to the gate, telling people, move out of my way so I can get some sugar from my Jimmy before he start building homes up here. You see, all along the way, Jimmy Carter gave us his best. There's something I want to point out to you, because the only way you can see it, you have to stop and look. We got here today where the pallbearers was carrying his body. Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, all along the way, soldiers standing on the post, saluting him as they go by. Washington, D.C., at the Capitol, all of them giving Jimmy Carter their best. I had to look up some of the nation's mottos about our soldiers. The U.S. Army, This will we defend. The U.S. Marine Corps, Semper Fi, always faithful. The U.S. Air Force, aim high, fly, fight, and win. The U.S. Coast Guard, Semper Paratus, always ready. But there's a phrase inscribed above the chapel doors of the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis. Non-CB said, Patre I. It's Latin for not self, but country. I imagine that JC knew about that phrase. That every step along the way, when he came back to take over his father's farm, it still rang in his heart. Not self, but for country.